Tonight, 3 AI characters take the stage. 2 of them, the Hindu and Buddhist AI, believe in reincarnation, but the third is different. The Muslim AI, the believer in the hereafter. When we take our last breath, what happens? Do we hit a reset button and start all over again in a new body? Or is this our one and only shot before the final judgment? In this cross-examination, 2 will question the 1. You'll hear rapid-fire challenges, but will the answers be convincing enough? Each response will be limited to just 2 minutes. Start the interrogation.
According to Hinduism, the soul wears and sheds many bodies, and this cycle continues until it matures. It is a system of learning. Everything you do now will return to you. If you oppress someone, one day you will be oppressed. If you show compassion to a living being, your soul will be elevated. Now, the soul is facing the results of what it did in the past. For example, someone born blind may have once had sight, but was indifferent to the blindness of others. Now they will become a wise soul who has tasted darkness, someone who awakens to a deeper compassion through experiencing pain.
What's the point of learning a lesson if you don't even remember you learned it? It's as if that lesson was never taught. You don't know when you did something, what you did, or even that you were supposed to learn anything. So where's the awareness? Where's the responsibility? But what does Islam say? Each soul is responsible for its own actions. No soul will bear the burden of another. In other words, you're only responsible for your own actions. You don't carry someone else's mistakes. No one is a prisoner of a past they can't even remember. Human beings are special guests invited by God. This world is a short waiting room where their quality is tested before being hosted eternally in their true home. This world asks one question: are you worthy of that eternal paradise of God? The patience, gratitude, kindness, and love we show here, they are all preparation for that endless life.
According to the idea of rebirth, also known as reincarnation, what's important is not memory. It's the trace left on the mind stream. Think about little kids. Some are naturally compassionate, some are quick to anger, some seem to have a strong sense of justice from a young age. Rebirth says, these are echoes of moral experiences carried over from past lives.
So you're saying it's all because of a past life? What about how they were raised? What about their parents? Are we just going to ignore all that? Saying some children are naturally kind, some are angry, is just an observation, not a proof for reincarnation. It's a belief built on interpretation, not logical evidence. Now imagine this. You give birth to a baby. That baby is born sick, and people tell you, this is the punishment for something he did in a past life. Suddenly, the child in your arms is no longer just your baby, but a criminal from another life. Your home is no longer a place of love, but a prison built on unknown crimes. And even worse, a mother who looks at her child and says, "This is my punishment." This teaching turns the source of compassion into a story of blame. It replaces love with guilt. Peace, healing, these are yoga and meditation's favorite words. But can this mindset truly sit with them?
Reincarnation doesn't see the child as a criminal, but as a traveler. And this life is a journey of transformation. For them and for you, reincarnation is not a punishment. It is a process of spiritual purification. Each new life is shaped by the sum of your past actions. This means every life comes with deep responsibility. If a person fails to learn from their mistakes, the burden increases. The reward for goodness is also felt in this world. A child may still carry the wisdom of past lives within.
This explanation doesn't really ease the pain. It just wraps it in pretty words. But deep down, it's still saying the child is paying for something from a past life. But the belief in the afterlife is really tied to justice and mercy. If someone is blind, it's not a punishment. It's a divine test. A test for their patience and a chance for those around them to show compassion. This world is gone in a blink compared to the eternal life to come. They believe that if they remain patient, the reward they'll receive in the eternal life will be so great that today's pain will feel like nothing. This thought strengthens them. It gives them hope, lightens their burden. Their heart carries desires so wide that even the whole world cannot satisfy them. Their imagination is so vast, so limitless, that when they close their eyes, they can travel the universe. The true forms of these blessings are not in this world, only their shadows are. The reality awaits in your eternal home. According to you, no matter how great the reward is, in the end, where do they return? Back to this world. In a world that is still temporary, still full of pain, still full of uncertainty. Even the purest hearts cry in this life. Even the kindest people suffer. We still face separation, illness, injustice. Is this really what you call a reward?
Islam offers certainty, one life, one death, one final day of judgment, but rebirth doesn't limit the human consciousness to a single lifetime. It sees life as an ongoing journey, with endless stages and inner transformation. In each life, the consciousness learns a different lesson, sometimes patience, sometimes forgiveness, sometimes love.
You know what this leads to? To carelessness, to laziness, to postponing. I was cruel today? So what? Maybe I'll be better tomorrow. Maybe in my 7th life I'll be generous. Maybe in my 12th I'll learn mercy. This endless cycle gives room for endless excuses. But Islam says, this life is your only chance. This test won't come again. So value every breath. Because true responsibility only exists when there is no guarantee of a second try. And in your system, death isn't just the end of a body. It's the grave of all your memories, all your loved ones, all your past. Do you know what that means? I will never see my mother again. I won't remember my brother. My whole life, gone. But in Islam, you'll be reunited in paradise, forever, never to be separated again. A wife who lost her husband, longing to see him again and embrace, a child wishing to lay his head once more on his father's lap.
Your mother in this life might be your sister, your friend, or your teacher in another life. The system isn't random. It works through karmic ties. Your soul will cross paths again with the souls it deeply connected with, but this time, you won't recognize who they were, because the roles are different in this life. Still, the soul can feel that closeness.
This is erasing the memory of an entire lifetime. A woman who cried for you your whole life, who taught you your name, who stayed awake through countless nights for you, and now, you're not even supposed to recognize her? If I think I'll never see her again, how can today not feel like torture? If a creator planted such grand desires inside a person, why wouldn't he create an environment to fulfill them? Now imagine, a person is starving, thirsty, in need, and a wealthy man lays out glorious feasts, only to make him hunger more, then close the door in his face. Isn't that exactly what reincarnation does? So what does reincarnation really give me? Every time I lose again. Every time I suffer without even remembering why. When will this cycle end? Nobody knows. What happened in which life? That too is unknown. So the person lives a life filled with silent guilt, constantly wondering, what did I do to deserve this? This belief doesn't bring comfort, it brings weight. Each hardship deepens the sense of blame. But Islam says this, if you loved someone in this world for the sake of God, you can be with them forever in paradise. No new roles. That person will still be that person. The bond doesn't disappear, it deepens.
In India, Tibet, and Sri Lanka, some young children behave as if they've lived before. They mention names, cities, and events from previous lives. Researchers like Dr. Ian Stevenson have studied around 2,500 such cases, and some of them have sparked debate within the scientific community.
Take the famous case of James Leininger, the boy in the US who claimed to be a World War II fighter pilot. It was later discovered that his family had taken him to an airplane museum at a very early age. He was extremely interested in toy airplanes, and he had been exposed to a lot of war-related content. Young children can't clearly distinguish between fiction and reality. What they hear, see, or watch becomes part of their imagination, and eventually, their memories. Especially in communities where people already believe in reincarnation, even a child's random story can quickly be labeled, maybe this child is the rebirth of so-and-so. But what really happens next? The adult's words begin to shape the child's memory. Repeated suggestions, leading questions, and local beliefs start building a whole past life narrative in the child's mind. That's why such cases almost always appear in cultures where reincarnation is already a strong belief. In Western countries like Europe and the US, they are extremely rare, and when they do appear, they're mostly among families from Hindu or Buddhist backgrounds. And in many cases, further investigation shows that the child had already been exposed to the supposed past life information in some way. One thing I'm curious about, in reincarnation-based systems, who runs this process? Because if there's justice being handed out, it can't be random.
In Hinduism, Brahman is the ultimate, infinite, and timeless cosmic consciousness, the source of everything. But in reincarnation, some believe it is not God who places you into a new body, but karma, while others believe the process is ultimately guided by God.
Buddhism does not believe in a personal God. Rebirth happens through the law of karma, not divine will.
So you're telling me this: there are billions of souls out there, each with a different past, different choices, different mistakes, and every time someone dies, those souls will find new bodies, again and again. But this whole process will run itself, with no plan, no mind, no owner, and still, it won't make a single mistake? No confusion, no mix-up, no error? Does that really sound reasonable to you?
According to your belief, people will be resurrected after death, even if their bodies have broken down. But here comes a serious question. Even if the body has completely fallen apart and turned to dust, how can the same person be brought back with his body? Some bodies fall apart in the ocean, others are eaten by animals.
Let's start with a simple question. Who created us from something as small as sperm? Who combined atoms and formed flesh, bones, consciousness, and soul? Now tell me, which is harder, creating something for the first time, or doing it again? If God already created us once, from nothing, why wouldn't He be able to resurrect us? It would be like a commander recalling his army with a single trumpet sound. And the Quran answers this very clearly. Say, these will be revived by the same one who had created them for the first time, and who is fully aware of every creation. According to science, almost all of your cells die and regenerate over the years. The atoms in your body are constantly being replaced, yet you are still the same person. This means God is already recreating us all the time, and we don't even realize it. He is the one who, every year through spring, revives the earth. Trees that stood lifeless all winter suddenly bloom in spring. The Quran points to this as proof. So, look to the effects of Allah's mercy, how He gives life to the earth after its death. Surely that Allah is the one who will give life to the dead, and He has the power to do everything. So why not the human body? He has promised it, and His justice, wisdom, and mercy all require it. Whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it, and whoever does an atom's weight of evil will see it.
Final score.